Welcome folks, to the wild, wacky, and slightly overdue world of Eudamed. That's right, the European database on medical devices, a name so catchy it could star in its own medical drama. If you're thinking, oh great, an hour of regulatory snoozefest, hold your scalpels. This is the tale of a database that's been delayed more times than my dentist appointment, packed with more twists than a soap opera, and about to revolutionize how every stethoscope, hip implant, and pregnancy test gets tracked across Europe. I'm Paul, your fearless guide through this jungle, and by the end, you'll be a Eudamed expert, or at least able to bluff your way through an executive's meeting. Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into this medical mystery. So, what's Eudamed? Picture this. It's the EU's digital bouncer at the club of medical device safety. A massive database keeping tabs on everything from tongue depressors to ventilators across 27 countries. It was born from two hefty regulations, the Medical Device Regulation, or MDR Regulation, EU 2017-745, and the In Vitro Diagnostic Regulation, IVDR, 2017-746, both kicked off in 2017 to make devices safer, trackable, and less likely to star in a courtroom drama. Eudamed's not just a single guest list though, it's split into 6 modules, like a boy band with too many members, each with its own vibe. You've got actor registration for the who's who, UDI device registration for the what's what, notified bodies and certificates for the quality cops, market surveillance for the watchdogs, vigilance for the moments, and clinical investigations and performance studies, CIPS for short, for the science nerds. Together, they are the EU's dream team to make sure your knee replacement doesn't turn into a horror story. Here's the cool part. Unlike the old Eudamed from 2011, a secretive VIP lounge for regulators only, this new version's going public. Parts will be open to you and me, so we can snoop on what's in that 4-drip or heart monitor. It's transparency with a capital T, and the EU's betting big on it to keep us all safe. Now, it's not just about safety, it's about trust. Think of it as the EU saying, hey manufacturers, importers, distributors, we're watching you. Every player gets a ticket to this party, and they've got to play by the rules. Buckle up, because this is where the drama really kicks off. Alright, strap in for the Eudamed timeline. It's a roller coaster with more loops than a carnival ride designed by a mad scientist. Back in the day, they promised us a full launch by May 2020. Cue the audience laughter, because nope. Technical glitches, a global pandemic, and a dash of EU chaos pushed that dream way off track. By 2022 they were muttering, maybe 2024. But even that was wishful thinking. Then bam, July 9, 2024 drops Regulation, EU 2024-1860, our knight in shining armor, or maybe our villain, depending on your deadline phobia. This gem said, forget waiting for the whole band to tune up, we're rolling out the modules one by one. It's like running a marathon with checkpoints instead of sprinting the whole way. Smart move, EU. Here's the latest dirt, straight from the European Commission's playbook as of March 2025, hot off the press and triple-checked for your viewing pleasure. Actor registration, UDI device registration, notified bodies and certificates, and market surveillance modules. These 4 are the early risers. The EU plans to audit them and declare them functional by December 31, 2025. Fingers crossed they don't hit snooze again. 6 months after that notice hits the official journal, think of it as the EU's fancy newsletter, they're mandatory. That lands us at July 1, 2026. That's when manufacturers, importers, even authorized representatives must have entered their details, like giving every economic operator its own backstage pass. Vigilance module. This one's the incident tracker, think pacemaker fizzled out mid-beat. It's expected to get its green light around December 2025 too, but it's got an 18-month runway, so mandatory use kicks in July 1, 2027. Yep, a year later, patience is a virtue here. Clinical investigations and performance studies, CIPS, the diva of the group. It's been paused, restarted, and delayed more than a rock star's comeback tour. The EU's aiming to declare it functional by December 2026, making it mandatory around July 1, 2027, but don't hold your breath, It's tangled up with the Clinical Trials Information System, CTIS, and that's a tech soap opera all its own. Transition period for legacy devices, old-school devices, like that trusty thermometer from the 90s, get a 12-month grace period after UDI device goes mandatory. So, if that's July 2026, they've got until July 1, 2027 to register. Why all the delays? Imagine building a spaceship mid-flight while 27 countries yell, "Faster!" That's Eudamed. The tech's a beast. Think millions of devices, thousands of companies, and a system that has to speak every EU language. CIPS is the real wild card. It's like trying to sync your playlist with your grandma's old radio. So, why should you give a hoot about Eudamed? Let's get real. Medical devices aren't just gadgets, they're lifelines. But when they flop, it's ugly. Flashback to the PIP breast implant scandal. French company Polyimplant Prothèse swapped medical-grade silicone for industrial junk, leaking into thousands of women's lives in the late 2000s. Lawsuits, tears, chaos. Or take metal-on-metal hip replacements in the 2010s. Patients hobbling back to surgery, because those shiny joints wore out faster than a cheap pair of flip-flops. Eudamed's here to slam the brakes on that nonsense. Every device gets a unique device identifier, UDI, like a barcode with swagger. Printed on labels or packaging, it's a digital fingerprint letting regulators trace it from factory to hospital bed. If a defibrillator decides to nap mid-shock, the vigilance module flags it. Think of it as the EU's incident hotline. And recalls can happen faster than you can say class action lawsuit. Plus, we'll get to peek at some of that safety data ourselves. Power to the people, right? Then there's the supply chain angle. Regulation 2024, 1860s secret weapon. Manufacturers now have to warn regulators if they're about to ditch making critical gear, like ventilators or IV fluid bags, but why? COVID-19 taught us a harsh lesson. Empty shelves in hospitals are a nightmare. In 2020, ventilators were rarer than gold dust. Eudamed's here to make sure that never happens again. For manufacturers, it's a double-edged scalpel. More work, registering every device, slapping UDIs on everything, reporting every hiccup. But it's also a golden ticket. Prove your stuff's safe, build trust, and maybe outshine the competition. For the EU's 27 nations, it's a chance to ditch clunky national databases and dance to one tune. Safety, transparency, and a stocked supply closet. Eudamed's aiming high. Let's spotlight the Eudamed modules. These are the rock stars making it happen. Cue the lights. Actor registration. The VIP list. Manufacturers, importers, even authorized representatives who speak for foreign companies, all get a single registration number here. It's been live since December 2020, voluntary for now, mandatory July 2026. Think of it as the guest check-in for the whole EU party. UDI, device registration, the heart and soul. Every device, syringe, stent, you name it, gets a UDI slapped on its label or packaging. Live since October 2021, mandatory July 2026. It's like giving every gadget its own passport, traceable from cradle to grave. Notified bodies and certificates, the quality control crew. These are the authorized bodies, think TV or BSI, checking devices meet MDR IVDR standards, with all their certificates logged here. Live since October 2021, mandatory July 2026. No backstage pass without their nod. Market surveillance, the watchdogs sniffing out trouble. Regulators share risk info here, like if a batch of 4 pumps keeps clogging. Expected functional by December 2025, mandatory July 2026. It's the EU's gossip network for dodgy devices. Vigilance, the OOPS tracker. Serious incidents like a catheter snapping or a test kit misreading get reported here for centralized analysis. Expected December 2025, mandatory July 2027. Imagine it as the band's emergency hotline. Clinical investigations and performance studies, CIPS, the science lab. Tracks trials and studies, like testing a new glucose monitor, across the EU. Expected December 2026, mandatory July 2027, but it's the diva lagging behind, stuck syncing with the drug trial system, CTIS. These modules are a team, think Avengers but for paperwork. Actor registration IDs the players, UDI tracks the gear, vigilance sounds the alarm. It's a symphony when it works. But CIPS? It's like the drummer who keeps missing gigs. The EU's wrestling with its tech tango with CTIS, and it's pushing that finale to 2027. So, where's Eudamed headed? July 2026 is the big opener. 4 modules hit the stage, mandatory and rocking. Vigilance and CIPS follow in July 2027, and legacy devices get until July 2027 to join the party. My hot tip for manufacturers? Don't sleep on this. Start registering voluntarily now. Over 10,000 actors are already in as of late 2024, per the EU's own stats. Clean your data, slap those UDIs on, hit up the UDI help desk, link below. Predictions? If the EU nails this, it's a game changer, safer devices, fewer scandals, stocked hospitals. But if tech hiccups or squabbles derail it, we're back to square one. I'm betting on success, but those delays keep me on edge. Alright, we've survived the Eudamed saga. What's your take, hero or headache? Drop it in the comments, smash that like if you're now an Eudamed nerd, and subscribe for more regulatory rollercoasters. Check the EU's site for the nitty-gritty, link in the description. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next video.